Just say something.
Yeah, good morning. Can hear you very clearly. Trying to
Okay.
figure out why.
Okay, great. Can you hear me now? Is it loud enough for you to hear me? Can you hear me? Is that better?
I hear you. I'm just trying to. Yeah, I can hear you, but just a lot of static.
Okay. All right, great. So let's get to fix that sound quickly and then move on with the conversation. As soon as you can hear me loud enough for us to have a conversation, you could just indicate by give me a thumbs up so I could just throw the first question. So Jude Idada, for those who do not know, is I just introduced him as an author and a playwright, but he's much more than that. There's a lot more about him that we should know, apart from the fact that he's been involved in movie productions, he's been involved in a whole lot of stuff, especially promoting the creative industry, from here, trying to strike strategic partnerships that would improve our creative business and a creative industry. He's been at the forefront of making people happy and also capturing the world as he sees it the best way he can in some of his pieces, his books, his write ups. I'm telling you, it's one man you should read up about if you don't know about him just yet. But hey, it's always a delight to have you, Jude. I hope you can hear me now. I hope it's loud and
Thank
clear.
I hear you clearly now. I hear you clearly now.
Fantastic. Good to know. So, Jude, good to see you. How have you been coping with the pandemic? What is life
Yeah.
like in the pandemic?
Okay, I've been holding here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Good morning to all the listeners of Nigerian Info out there. It's my honor to be here to share my experiences, share my craft. The favor that follows that authenticity and the voice that I have. I'm so honored for my readership, my followership, and being here and answering your questions, calling. It's been crazy, being holding here. I was ill for a while. I'm
Wow.
feeling better now, but I've
Wow.
always written even when I was ill. So I guess that the writing is therapy for me too.
Even
So
w-
yes, I'm very
so you're saying you were when you were ill, you still had time to write.
Oh yes, I've always written. 2 years ago, I was going to have a surgery, and even before I went in, I told the doctors before you put me under anesthesia, please can I just update my Facebook status? And the doctor was like, "Are you afraid you won't survive? And you want to tell everybody?" Yeah, I'm that kind of person. Writing is my life. It's my first love. It's what gives me that reason, the passion, the fuel to just keep going on. Yeah,
You,
I
you
always write, so people never know when I'm ill or I'm down.
Absolutely. You are certainly one creative who has, I could say, has traveled the world in terms of, I mean, you have sat on the highest tables as far as your craft is concerned. I mean, you've won several awards, including the LNG, if I'm correct, a prize for literacy, which of course is a big one.
Yeah, the
Great.
Nigeria Prize for Literature. I
Great
won that
literature.
last year.
Great, great. I mean, so it's not in doubt whether you are at the top of your game. But one would only expect that at that level, you would have anything to do with things like racism. And here we are. We talk about it. You've had several experiences, and you say you documented that experience. Let's hit the ground running. What was your experience like, and what exactly happened? I mean, could you recount some of these experiences? And did you even ask why? I mean, did you find out why you have these experiences at all?
Well, first off, as I say, for me, I had to leave Nigeria to discover Nigeria. I had to leave Nigeria to realize what my color is and what my color portends. I
Hmm.
had to leave Nigeria to understand the history of my forebears. Because when you are here, you are in such a homogeneous society that you really don't know the difference. You really take all those things for granted, your past, even the present and what the future holds, and the amount of powers that be that are contending for control. So in my immigrating to Canada in 2001, which is about 19 years ago, I went there with that Nigerian fervor and that sense of pride and confidence and all of that into this new society that has its own historical narrative. And when you're thrown into that, you're at the cross current, you're being buffeted by all these different, will I say, the flows, trying to find your place. So I found myself in the course of time, having these continuous contentious encounters that bordered on my color and bordered on my identity being African. And I thought it behooved on me coming back to Nigeria and staying here for prolonged period of time, and listening to my Nigerians to me, I said to myself, I said, these people don't really understand what informs what they are going through, that their enemies are both within and without, that the complexity of their lives is not as simple as they think it is. So I said, share these stories about the encounters I've had and how it has shaped me as a better person to be able to find a place in the world, to find the narrative that informs my art, my craft, the POV I have of the world, and then to ensure that it's documented so that people would not have to go through all that I went through before they can be what I am.
Wow. I mean, you recounted one of the situations where you were invited for an event, legitimately invited for an event, and you got there, and what you met was not friendly.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Where there's light, there's always darkness, because light, they define each other. Without darkness, there's no light. Without light, there's no darkness. And I was invited for a Passover feast, Hanukkah kind of thing, by very wealthy Jewish couple, who the female wife, had met me through my girlfriend at that time, who was also a white Jewish girl. So I'm just trying to explain that it's not even hatred, it's not homogeneous, it's not widespread. There are still oases. So I was dating this Jewish girl, and she introduced me to a lady who she used to, when she was younger, she used to babysit the lady's sons. And the lady took to me, just loved me from the first sight, and this is a very powerful, very rich woman, and I got to know her entire family, sisters, brother, husband, everybody, kids and all. So I was like one of them. And one of these Passover dinners, they invited me for dinner, and I went for the dinner. And in the room with me was another black guy who I was meeting. I'd met him before, but we never really joined issues. I always knew that he was very uppity because he was naturally born Canadian, in terms of I was a naturalized Canadian. I came. Okay. So there was still that thing. Okay, there was this cardiothoracic surgeon, who was at the dinner with us. And during the dinner, I had asked, this was the first term of Barack Obama when he was going against John McCain. Okay. He wasn't president, this black guy. I had asked them, just general, I was like, who do you guys think will win between Barack and John McCain? And, everybody said, well, and then this white cardiothoracic surgeon said, definitely John McCain. And I was like, why? And he said, no white person in their in their right senses will go into the booth and vote a black man over a white man. And I said, why? What if the black man is obviously overly better qualified? It's like, no, that they'd rather vote their dog than vote that, because it upturns the system. And it was such a contentious, I can't really say the whole story, but it was such a contentious argument where he was saying very vexatious things, things that were filled with so much bile and hate. And then even the black guy who was there, you would have thought he was as riled as I was, but he wasn't. He was actually saying that he can understand, he agrees with what this white guy was saying, that, that as far as he's concerned, it's all about qualifications. And as far as he's concerned, John McCain is more qualified, and this and that and that. And I said, okay, it's fine. You don't, because of black guy, you don't need to vote for him because you're black. But you cannot tell me that you agree with a man who is saying to you that inherently your color or your identity as an African, whether historical or contemporary, disqualifies you ab initio from getting the harvest. And he said, this white man had said that it is galling for the white America to allow a black man, like a former slave, into the White House to rule over them. That it's like a taboo. It's a dysfunction. And then he went on and said things about, a white woman who sleeps with a black man is a racial traitor, so many things. But this black guy said, when I asked him, I said, can you hear what this guy is saying? You that you support his position. And he said, he's just joking. He doesn't really mean it. And the guy told him, I mean it. And he said to me, addressing me, using him he said, you African, you have to learn how to stay in your place, just like this black guy who knows his place. And the black guy is telling me that this is the problem with you Africans. You come here all uppity. all having this is the black guy talking to me. You come here so uppity from Africa, and you come here and you destabilize things with your confidence and your enthusiasm to rise to the top. You now make it hard for us who have found our place and are subservient to the white man, because that is the only way we can rise. So it was a very contentious dinner. But what was really more heartwarming was the white lady, that's the Jewish white lady, who is a descendant of Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
You know, and she told the Jewish guy that how can you be so prejudiced when you yourself are a product of, you know, the prejudice against you in terms of Germany and Holocaust and all of that. Your people have suffered.
Yeah.
You're a witness to that suffering. How can you now come and perpetuate it? And of course, the guy ignored her and had his own, and the woman told him to get out of her house. And he didn't want to, because he's a very affluent cardiothoracic surgeon. So her husband had to get his sons to kick him out of the house.
Wow.
And it went ahead also to get the black guy. They sent him out of the house too. And of course, they apologized to me. And of course, I was happy. They are great people. But it was so unfortunate or sad how life is, that they say, why do bad things happen to good people? This same white woman who was so warm and so welcoming, and, you know, all her friends were Somalians, Ethiopians, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Tibetans, everybody. It was like a collage of colors and tribes. And, you know, she had breast cancer and she died. And so you ask yourself sometimes, why is it that the people who have the light, you know, their light, is it that the world is too wicked for them and God takes them out as soon as he can? So in a nutshell, that was my experience I had, which formed my character to a great extent, to understand that you cannot be a color, you cannot define yourself by a color, because a color is just skin deep. We all have the same blood, we all have the same genotypes. When they open you on an operating table, they just see your liver, and none of them have color. None of them knows you. I am the liver of a black man, or I'm the liver of a white man. I'm just liver. So yeah, I've learned a lot through those kind of things.
I mean, you're one person who, of course, certainly has written books and you've read a whole lot of stuff, and you've done a lot of research in different areas. And one can only wonder, you know, if I say you should go on and tell me more of your experiences, I know you'd have a whole lot. I know you also you've documented a couple of them that we can always have and share later. But let's talk about why you think it's so that this has gone on for so many years. I know it's easy to say, well, I mean, your fathers were brought as slaves, you know, blah blah. But I mean, there's a story of Africans that tells me in the past, before slave trade, that, you know, things were a little bit equal. So why do you think this has continued? By the way, unabated, has continued over the years. I mean, look at what's happening in the U.S. today and around the world. I mean, it's also still related to what we're talking about. Racism. And why do you think this has continued? Do you think
I would.
No, go ahead.
I'm listening. Do I think that?
Go ahead. Why do you think it's continued?
Okay. First and foremost, we have to understand that we have one enemy, regardless of color, race, tribe, and everything. And that enemy is the monetization of power. You know, it starts from it's a commercial enemy. And it started from slavery, when the human race was defined in terms of was defined into the categories of superiority and inferiority as a justification of the monetization of power, of control. The white man needed to justify his selling of a fellow human being to enrich himself. So the only way he could justify it, being that he was also doing it with the Bible, with Christianity, was to say that the black man was not human. He wasn't human, and because he was human, then he could be traded as commodity, as chattel. And once that happened, it set up a successive lines of events where racialism now entered the common dialogue. And you also have to realize that Africa, as you rightly said, was, you know, it was a proud civilization, different civilizations, Oyo Empire, Benin Kingdom, all the great Songhai Empire, all of that, Kanem-Borno Empire and all. But when the black man came, when the white man came to us, and because I don't want to say things that are true, you know, when the white man came to us and he realized that he could make money on selling us, taking us to the new world, which is America, he took the best of us He did not. When you go to the markets to buy tomatoes, you
Yeah,
do not take rotten tomatoes. You take
that's
the
right.
best of the crop.
That's right.
To the best of us. Over 400 years,
Hmm.
there was a movement of capital, human knowledge, expertise, historical account.
Mm-hmm.
It was moved to the Americas. Not only was it moved to the Americas, when it was moved to the Americas, it was wiped clean. It was necessary for them to be able to subjugate us. They needed to make us forget who we were. And not only forget who we were in the Americas, but they had to also come to the continent and also make us forget who we were. And that is why when I was growing up, all my books were books written by white people. My history was the history recounted by white people. They needed to make me forget my heritage, because only when I forget my heritage will they be able to subjugate me. And every time one of us stood up and said, no, this is who we are, this is who we were, this is who we want to be, they take him out of the equation. Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Leopold Senghor, you can count over and over again.
That's right.
Your people also have to remember that even the Wall Street that we talk about now, the stock exchange, the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange that we talk about now, was founded on slavery. It was where slaves were sold. So the stock you hear, is actually human cargo.
Wow.
Do you see how their civilization was built on the back of slavery over time? And that civilization that was built for them, that was positive, was negative for us. Because the more they rose, the more we fell.
Okay.
And now even immigration.
Yeah.
Why do you think they want us to come over? Why do you think they do landed immigrants and all of that? Why do you think they have point system? It all boils down to the same thing. Since we cannot be sold as slaves, our life here has to be made so horrible that we by ourselves we by ourselves we go into a different kind of slavery.
Right.
Which is now the economic slavery, because it has always been economic slavery. Then it was cotton picking and sugarcane plantations. Now, obviously, it's trained workforce. But they make our leaders destroy our economies, save all the monies they steal from our economies in their own banks, which they loan to their own farmers and their own industrialists to grow their own country. And when we are having it tough here, they tell us, the best of you, we can give you immigrant visas to come and work for us, and we take taxes from you. So you see how we lose. We lose both ways. All the doctors, my brother was trained as a doctor in Uniben. How much was his school fees? I'm sure the whole school fees is spent in the whole 7 years, including strikes. I'm sure it won't be more than 250,000 naira. But where is he now? He's a pediatrician in Texas. The US did not invest in the making of him as a doctor. Nigeria did. Nigeria has lost that manpower that was subsidized, trained under subsidy to the US. So you see why it continues. Because just answering your question, why you say why does it continue?
Wow.
It continues over even the police brutality. People forget that the police began from slave patrols. The beginning of the police in the United States, the history of them, their first foundation was from slave patrols. That is why there is an insidious, continuous hatred between the police and the black community. Because historically, they have been enemies. And it was formed to police the blacks. And it is still policing the blacks.
Wow.
That means, yes, we took away the chains from you, but we imprisoned your mind. We took away the chains from your hand, but we imprisoned your mind. And I want Nigerians to know that. That you might say that, oh, it's America and it's all, but it's also here. Your conditions here. The United States will give you a loan, but they will tell you the conditions of how the loan is spent. They will tell you that the money, the tractor you have to buy, you must buy it from us. The seeds you have to buy. So it's as if they give you money and take it back from you. So it's a zero-sum game.
All right, good. Well said. But let's talk about what we should be doing. I mean, as creatives, right? What should we be doing right now? Our voice being heard? When we write, do they hear us? When we speak like I'm speaking right now, are we being heard? And what can we do practically? I mean, that would at least start making the change that we need, because we cannot continue like this. We cannot continue like this. Obviously, what's happening in the US is a typical example or pointer to the fact that people are getting tired. We cannot continue like this. What can we be doing from a creative perspective? I mean, you are a top one. What should we be doing right now to start correcting these ills?
Okay, first and foremost, as I said, as Chinua Achebe said, the hunt is because the hunt is by the hunter. That's why it favors the hunter. Yeah. You get what I mean? First and foremost, we must seize back our power to create our own narratives. We must be the one our own stories, and it behoves of us, the artists, the ones who are educators, you as an OAP, that every time you speak positive, you speak light into our system. You do not bring us down constantly with the literature, with the things we talk about and everything, because because at the end of the day, words are power. Energy to subjugation in your words, and there's also upliftment in your words. That's right. So I think that's where we start from. We start telling positive narratives. We start reminding the African of when he was great, the time when he could build the pyramid, the times when he could dig the moat of Benin, the time the insipid writing of the Eastern cultures. We have to tell us who we were before. It is us to do that. And the minute we start doing that, we start empowering ourselves. And then when we empower ourselves, we now have to start identifying to our fellow people who our real enemy is and how the dots interconnect. How the one who comes to help you doesn't necessarily come to help you, because that is what happened to our forebears. They came here with gin and this and that and guns and mirror, and then those ones thought it was a positive and they sold themselves. And they're still doing it now. They're doing it in more subtle forms. And it behoves on us who have the benefit or are blessed with foresight and talent and all of that to be able to pick this kind of narratives and start informing and educating. Because there's one thing I know, the moment will always come. No matter how far and how long the subjugation, the pain and the oppression is, the moment will always come for enlightenment. And that enlightenment will come to people who are ready to be enlightened. You can speak to someone for 100 years and they won't listen to you. But a day will come, that is, I don't know whether it is divine, but a day will come when that will open up. And then it will take the wisdom that is being shared to it. So what you see in America happening right now, people paid for it, from James Baldwin to Maya Angelou to Toni Morrison, to Zora Neale Hurston, people who wrote books 550 years ago, 60 years ago. Everything is coming out. Right now in the United States, books about Black history, books about Black suffering, they are selling out massively. Netflix is playing things about Black subjugation and power. But that is what happens, that they call it a tipping point. A tipping point has come. And we also have to create a tipping point in Africa, that the Africans will stand up and seize back the narrative and the power that will save them from the subjugation that is both within and without.
Thank you very much, Jude Idada. I mean, need we say more? Now, I know that you keep working and you have a couple of works coming out, and you also compiled your experience of racism in a couple of write-ups that you have shared or you'll be sharing. How can we follow you on your socials, and how can we get to read some of your works? I know that the last time we had you, we talked about your Boom Boom book, which was a good one we talked about. So how can what's new in your often right now, your table, and how can we follow you to get more of your write-ups and everything?
Thanks a lot for that, Collins. On Facebook, I'm Jude Idada, Jude Idada, Idada, so Jude with a double D. On Instagram, Jude Idada compound. On Twitter, the same thing. Apart from that, in terms of my works, Boom Boom, write this book. I have this section. There are going to be 10 stories in total. I was actually writing 7 on Facebook. And the publisher had approached me and they want to publish it and use it for literature, just owing to what you are saying. They want to use it as text in the United States and around the world for diversity studies. So they want me to write an extra 4 stories. So it's going to be 10 stories in total. So it will come out, and we already have a title. It is called How to Be Human and Not a Color. And it's going to come out soon. Hopefully, they're looking at next term before next month before the new academic calendar starts.
All right.
But we're still discussing, so I can't name the publisher or name the schools or whatever.
Okay. All right, great.
Yeah. So I also the book Sankara. I have Oduduwa King of the Edos. I have By My Own Hands. All my books are always value driven.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to add to the knowledge, to open minds and enlighten. So to just follow me on my handles as I've enumerated, and hopefully you will go on this journey together with me. We will spread the light. We will be the salt of the earth. We will break our chains, and we will seize our future.
Thank you very much, Jude Idada, speaking with us today. It's been a very, very emotional moment for me because I'm very passionate about us, changing the narrative. Because I know the moment I started reading about Africa before the slave trade, trust me, I was in tears. I said, wow. So what happened to this story? Why don't many Africans know of these stories? The story of how we're building pyramids in the days. We just talk about them like it's nothing. So I'm really happy that we had this conversation today. And I know that my listener would have learned something, and this would have put them on the right path as Africans right here. Thank you again, Jude. See you some other time, and all the best. But before you go, I remember you had an opportunity, Jude, to choose between staying in Nigeria and going back to Canada sometime. I followed you. I saw the post. Was that a true life story? And you chose to stay?
That was true. And it was very, sorry for taking time. Just very quick. It was very important for me to stay back in Nigeria and go through COVID. I was ill, but I needed to change that narrative. I needed to prove and show that for me to survive, I don't need the foreign healthcare system. That somehow, some way, we'll be able to pull it here. My brother had a heart attack last year. Yeah. He had a triple bypass surgery right here in Nigeria. He was operated an open heart surgery by Nigerian surgeons, full Nigerian surgeons, right here in Ikoyi. First cardiology consultants. It's possible that we can save ourselves. We don't always have to say it's the white man that did it. We don't always need him to validate us. I am happy I won the Nigeria Prize for Literature, sponsored by NLNG, a Nigerian company who is sponsoring the richest prize in Africa. Yeah. It is important for me that we celebrate things like that. We do not always kowtow to things that happen in the West. We're a proud people. We're a strong people. And they know that. We're resilient. We're capable of so much. We're innovative. We're Africans. We're Black. We're proud. I want us to rise up individually and collectively and seize that narrative. Let them know. Let them respect us like they respect the Japanese, the Chinese, and all of that. We can make it happen if we choose to. But it starts from you.
Thank you very much. What a way to end this conversation. Jude Idada again. Thank you for speaking with us, and have a great day. Stay awesome. Absolutely. Power. Absolutely. Well, there you heard it from the man, Jude Idada. Always a delight to hear from him. Always an inspiration to hear him talk. And I hope you were inspired today, guys. Take those words, hold them strong as an African, and remember that your history predates the slave trade. You are resilient, you're strong, you're African, you're great. So, African creatives, a message for you from Jude Idada. When I get back, don't leave me just yet, because when I get back, I'll ask you not to leave me, as I'll be joined by Josh Too Funny, another great African creative. Let's talk